short.
HR! HR!
Look, me too, okay? Me too. I'm on my way. Like, before he gets there, it's just a surprise. So all of a sudden, he's like...
Army of sheep led by a lion will beat an army of lions led by a sheep. Successful people make their decisions quickly and change their minds slowly. Failures make their decisions slowly and change their mind quickly.
It was very funny.
This was the funniest one.
It's the funniest. I got the most chuckles out of this one for sure.
Hey, my friend.
You get to choose your attitude. There are two things in this life that you can control. Great leaders, great achievers are very rarely realistic by other people's standards. And somehow these people are considered strange by other people's standards, pick their way through life, not hearing negative expectations or emotions. However, consequently, they accomplish one great thing after another.
All men are driven by faith or fear. One or the other. Both are the same. Faith or fear is the expectation of an event that hasn't come to pass, or the belief in something that cannot be seen or touched. This is the Clark Connection Podcast, your weekly dose of inspiration and power. We'll dive deep into the stories and strategies that ignite personal growth and entrepreneurial fire. Join us as we empower you to take control, level up your leadership, and build the life you deserve. Get ready to rise, to thrive, and to finally become the leader of your own destiny. Let's go. Welcome to the Clark Connection Podcast, where we dive into leadership, personal growth, and the principles that help you become the best version of yourself. I'm your host, Aaron Clark, aka The Coach, and today I've got Caitlin here with me again.
Hey everybody, I'm Caitlin Michelet, and I'm excited about this one. We've been talking about doing this episode for a while. This book has so many powerful lessons.
Yeah, today we're digging into The Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews, one of my favorite books on perspective, decision-making, and taking ownership of your life.
It's such a unique way to teach life lessons through storytelling. I love how it takes you on a journey while dropping wisdom from these really cool historical figures along the way.
Exactly. And each of those 7 decisions we'll talk about today, they're practical. You can apply them in leadership, business, or even in your personal life.
So if you're listening right now, this is one that you'll want to grab a notebook for, because we're breaking down all 7 of these decisions and how they can change your perspective starting today.
Before we jump in, I want to take a second to thank our sponsors who make this podcast possible, especially our premier sponsor, Vicky with Hubbard Flooring Studio. Leadership always starts with a strong foundation, and so does your home or office. Vicky and her team don't just cover floors. They help you step into excellence, one plank, tile, or carpet at a time. And now, Hubbard Flooring Studio also offers Hunter Douglas blinds, giving you the ability to set the tone, control the light, and create the perfect environment to lead from. Right now, through the end of December, they're offering 10% off online rug orders and 24 months of 0% financing. And if you mention Coach Clark, they'll give you an additional 10% off and a free bottle of cleaner. Just enter the code HUBFL. That's Hubbard Flooring Studio, where strong foundations and bright visions begin. Thanks to Wayne with 7K medals for silver and gold. Just like strong leadership, building wealth takes strategy and vision, and Wayne helps you craft a foundation that shines. Shout out to Bobby with the Comfy Quest LLC. She helps you realign, recharge, and create the mental and physical space to lead your life with balance and clarity. Appreciate you, Andrew, with Automate Integrate Professional Services, making your business run smarter, smoother, and more efficiently, giving you the freedom to focus on what matters most. Big thanks to Joseph with Landscape King, transforming yards into beautiful, inspiring spaces that set the stage for creativity, growth, and leadership in every season. And a special thank you to Chris and Jess with C&J Embroidery, bringing your brand to life with custom designs that leave a lasting impression wherever you lead.
And while you're here, make sure to stay connected with Aaron and with us. You can visit coachaclark.com or shoot Aaron an email at aaron@coachaclark.com. You can also find him on social media at coach_a_Clark. And all that information is going to be in the description box below.
Yeah. And we'd love to hear from you. Let us know which of these 7 decisions stands out most to you once we go through them.
All right, so grab that notebook, take some notes, and don't forget to leave a comment or a review and let us know what you think about this episode and what resonates with you.
Hey, let's get into it. Here's our review and discussion of The Traveler's Gift.
All right, so hopping into the book, a little summary to get us started. So our main character is David Ponder, and he's just facing some life struggles. We've all got them. And so he goes through a journey, basically through history with some really cool historical figures. And the point of this journey is to learn the 7 decisions that are going to change his identity. And each decision emphasizes each lesson that builds momentum for his personal growth.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, it's when you think about where everybody, he has this accident, and without going into too many details, that he hits this point where he's going from, what is my purpose? He was on top, starts off on top of the world, to now just like, I'm here and I don't have a job. I don't have a way to support my family. And that one hits that, especially as a male, as a father, as a husband, that hits because that's what we were created for. We were created to be providers. And if you hadn't felt that, and one that I wrote down a long time ago, and I typed it up in our notes, I said, when David gets fired from his job, I feel like every man understands what he's going through in that moment. We all feel a deep sense of obligation to provide for our family. If you haven't felt that moment before in your life where it seems like everything is falling apart, you can't truly understand what he's talking about. You start to wonder if the world really does need you. You start to wonder if your family would be better off with you gone. You start to wonder, do I even have a purpose? Like, what is my purpose? Why are these things happening? And I think that's where it really comes in, that we all can understand that the 7 decisions. And so I really love where decision number 1 starts off. And you've heard me say this before, guys. Decision number 1, though, it is the buck stops here. The buck stops here. And that truly such a way to say, hey, I'm going to take ownership. I'm going to take leadership. I control what happens to me. And it's a thing that I'm not going to blame others for where I am, for what I'm going through. And so the term really got coined by Teddy Roosevelt, and it comes from playing poker, that term, the buck stops here. And so whenever they were playing cards, they would have a buck that they would pass around who was the dealer. And if you didn't want to be the dealer, you could just pass the buck. No, so Teddy Roosevelt was saying, no, the buck stops here. I'm going to be the one that's dealing it out. I'm the one that takes control. And perfect stop, right there dealing with Harry Truman at the World War II meeting on whether they're going to use the atomic bomb or not.
Yeah. That's a high stakes buck right there for sure. But I mean, it's a great illustration.
I didn't have to make that decision.
Yeah, not me. But it's a great illustration of life is a culmination of your choices. You have a huge responsibility in where you're at in your life and what happens to you. So, David is found saying, why me? Why are these things happening to me? Why is my life how it is? And, these things happening. And there's basically two things that, you need to remember at that point when you're saying to yourself, why me? And the first thing is, you are where you are in your life because of your thinking. And then your thinking dictates your decisions. So the buck stops with you. It is all your responsibility. Decisions are choices, and your choices lead to your present situation. So you have to take responsibility for that, past, present, and future. Think about, that I have control now over my thoughts, decisions, and choices that I'm going to make in the future. So there's some hope there as well. But the second thing, when you're thinking, why me? The second thing is that challenges are gifts. It's a mindset shift. Challenges and adversity, they're opportunities to learn, right? So Truman says to David Ponder, why not me? And I'm going to take that opportunity to learn and grow and continue preparing for greatness. So very cool. Really like I said, a mindset shift there. So that's the first decision is the buck
And what I
stops
think
here.
that you said's important, and I think it's it's really important to harp on this one real quick, is like she said, you are like you're where you are. Like you decided to be where you are. Whatever situation you're in, you decided it. But the good news is you can change that.
Yeah,
So I think that's very important that you have to own where I am.
absolutely. So then that leads us into our second decision. This is with King Solomon. And the second decision is, I will seek wisdom. So this is a really, really great decision here. It's basically about surrounding yourself with wise mentors and counsel. And, this would really speak to the parents that are listening as well. King Solomon asks David, because he's a parent, he is a teenager. And King Solomon asks,
He's talking to me, not a parent.
yeah, I mean, really, really everybody. But you think about, children. King Solomon says, at what age are we not influenced by the people we're around? Because he says, I'm sure that, as a parent, you're monitoring the kids that are hanging out with your child. Why? Because David says their behavior directly influences my child's behavior. Exactly. Right. That basically never stops. That basically never stops. We are always influenced by those who are around us. The book says if a man keeps company around those who curse and complain, he will soon find out that out of his mouth come curses and complaints flowing like a river. If he spends time with the lazy, he'll find that his finances are in disarray. So you become who you spend your time with. I think we've said this before, but we become the sum of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. And that's the key there. Not even just the 5 people that are our best friends or that we like the most. It's the ones that we spend the most time with. So who are you? And that's a choice, right? Who are you choosing to spend your time with? And how is it reflecting upon you and your behavior and your choices?
Right. And it's something that you have to look into and guard and protect. It's not just important for your children. It's important for you. And that was one that he said in the book, if it was important for the king to keep wise counsel, how much more important is it for me to keep wise counsel? And that was one that hit me hard because, Solomon, the writer of Proverbs, the Ecclesiastes, and then so many other books, there was nobody matched with his wisdom, knowledge, the wealthiest man to ever have lived.
Yeah, he's doing something right.
Yeah. So he kept all that, like he kept wise counsel around him constantly.
Yeah.
And it always brings me back to, that everybody loves to show the Nick Saban quote. Like high achievers don't like mediocre people, and mediocre people don't like high achievers. They don't. They just don't like that. And so, I mean, if you find yourself around lazy people and that doesn't bother you, you need to take a long look at the person in the mirror and check yourself. You need to go and look, hey, if somebody who's that not willing to go 100%, who's not willing to give it all, then, and if that doesn't bother you, you're accepting slothfulness in your way of life. So definitely don't do that, and it can't be, the wisdom can't be found passively. You've got to spend time in books. You've got to spend time watching positive podcast videos, learning and growing and constantly doing that. It's something I still laugh about, because I remember as young Aaron thinking, who reads books besides dorks and nerds, man? And it's like, don't look at this stuff back here.
Dork.
Man, I'm telling. HR. HR.
Look, me too, okay? Me too. I'm on my way.
But it's important, though. It really is. It really is, if you're not learning and growing. I mean, I just had a conversation with a friend, and he was like, man, what do people look for whenever you're working with somebody? What are things that you're looking for? I'm like, dude, I'm looking for somebody that's open to learning, open to growing, open to coaching. Because you can have the world's greatest coach, fill in the blank, whoever you want to put in there. But if you aren't willing to learn and accept what they're teaching you, you're rejecting wisdom. And so I'm going to close that out again right there. Point number 2, seek wisdom. If it's important for a king to keep wise counsel, isn't it important for us?
I would say so.
Good. Now, before we get to point number 3, I want you guys take a quick second. If you hadn't done so, hit that subscribe button. I mean, we're dropping all sorts of gold nuggets on you. Hit it. This helps to bring about newer, greater, better things. If you hadn't watched the last couple of episodes, we've made leaps and bounds of improvement. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, follow button. That it helps us to bring about great guests and keep giving you great content, like the 7 Decisions of Success by the Traveler's Gift. So take the time and do that. And then I would also, while we're here, drop down. Hey, who's your mentor? Drop them. Tag them in here.
Ooh, love that. Share the video with them too. That would be really cool.
Because it always makes, like, when we start talking about that, it always makes me think about Coach Kevin. It always does. You think about the first person outside of my parents that believed in me. And I mean, just a quick, and you never know, just a quick sharing that with them. How much that means to them. Just a quick check-in, like, wow, the person that did whatever 4 years ago, hey, I was thinking of you. Do that. Tag them in the video, share it. All right, enough rambling from me. That's one of my favorite ones, guys. That's probably my favorite. Point number 3. That says, I am a person of action. And this one picks up and this is probably my favorite one to listen to, because I mean, it starts off, that he's moving in, he's traveling through time, and he just comes out of thin air that to the Battle of Gettysburg, the Battle of the Battle of Gettysburg.
It was a bad one.
It was a baddie. It was a baddie. Jeez, man. Ugh. I'm gonna get booed off of here. But the Battle of Gettysburg is where it picks up. And almost immediately you feel it because he's like, there's a thunder, there's loud, and boom, somebody grabs him from the chest and slings him onto the ground and says, get down, man. And it's like, ah. So you really feel it here that as my son said, the imagery in this book is great.
It is.
That you really get a good sense of what's going on. And so but
and he doesn't know where he's really going. Like before he gets there, it's just a surprise. So all of a sudden he's like, on the battlegrounds in the middle of cannon fire. It's great.
Look, he just boom. All right, I'm here and now I'm there. Like he doesn't know where he's going next. That's a good point. Mm-hmm. But the one that really sticks out, right? Because that Colonel Chamberlain is probably the reason that the Union Army that turned things around and started winning the Civil War. In that he's got his back against the wall and he tells, his army that started off with thousands of men is down to like 200. They don't have any ammunition. They're out. It's over right now. And he's got one, most people will be like, hey, retreat. But in that time, he said, when faced with uncertainty, I am a man of action. Mm-hmm. And so he tells his crew, he says, fix bayonets and we're jumping over this wall and we're charging. And he starts yelling charge. And so they all start running down the hill like a bunch of crazy people. They don't have any ammunition. The rebel forces had just been reinforced and they surrendered. So several thousand people surrendered for 200 guys that didn't have any ammo. And so I love it because anytime, and this has always been one of my mottos, is anytime you're faced with a decision to make, you can do one of three things. You can make the right decision, which is what we all want to do.
Of course.
That we all want to make the right. I mean, if you're me, you don't make the wrong decision. Yeah, might not always be right, but I'm never wrong.
Okay.
Number 2, the second best thing you can do is to make the wrong decision. Because you can fix the wrong decision. And the third thing that you can do in the worst is to make no decision. That to take no action is the absolute worst thing that you can do. As I have friends that when we're talking about that I meet with across the nation, that's one of those, they're death by data. Death by data. They're looking at too much data. And so don't be that person. Don't be that person that like, oh, I've got to have 100%. I mean, Mike just talked about it in the previous episode where he said, I'm pretty much starting to get on the Apple bandwagon and it's about 80% or better complete. We're rolling it out to somebody to get somebody to work it out for us.
Yeah. I think if Colonel Chamberlain really stopped and looked at, what was actually happening and didn't just like full speed ahead, he probably would have surrendered and retreated. But he said, you know what? We're going all or nothing. Because even David was like, you are out of ammo. Like, there's a very good chance you all die. And Colonel Chamberlain said, basically, there's a good chance I die either way. And I'm not going to die a coward. He says, I'm only a stubborn man, Ponder. That is my greatest advantage in this fight. I have deep within me the inability. Oh, I love this. The inability to do nothing. I may die today, but I will not die in retreat. Joshua Chamberlain. And it's wild. This is probably
Gives me
the
the chills every
least
time.
well-known historical figure that we meet in this book, and is very possibly the most important. Like, the United States would probably not be the United States today without Joshua Chamberlain. Like, it's wild, but most people have probably never heard his name. But it's because of this decision that he made to not retreat and to keep going. He said, people want things to be perfect, make a decision when things are perfect and know that they'll be 100% right on their decision. And that's just not possible. Failure's a myth. John Maxwell has a great book called Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn. You learn from mistakes, but doing nothing, you don't learn from that. But you don't grow from that either.
Right. Yeah, and definitely, we would not be living in the United States. You and I mean, right now being in Louisiana, we'd be part of the Confederate States of America. So, a huge important. I love it too, because I think too often, like you said, people are afraid to take action for that reason. They're afraid to lose. But that was one, like, always as a coach, as I learned and got smarter, I learned that if I encourage my players, if I only fussed on lack of effort, not did you make the play or not, man, that they stopped making as many mistakes, and they trusted their gut instinct, and they just started playing. It was like quite a people wonder how do that's one thing about. I love Nick Saban. I know that's probably like taboo for an LSU fan, but that was one of the things that he just, and same thing with Kirby Smart. Their players play all out because they know that they're not, like, Kirby's not gonna chew out one of his players for dropping a pass. He's gonna drop them if they halfway run a route. So, I love it right here when it says, that an army of sheep led by a lion will beat an army of lions led by a sheep. That I am not indecisive. Successful people make their decisions quickly and change their mind slowly. Failures make their decisions slowly and change their mind quickly. So make the decision today. Am I going to be a lion or am I going to be a sheep? Because you're one of the two.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
That one hit hard for sure. The importance of your strength as a leader, Yep, that was a really great one. I know we talked about this a good bit, but it reminded me of kids, how kids learn. And the best thing is before they are afraid, to fail or make mistakes. And everybody says kids are sponges. Yeah, that's because they're not afraid to mess up, and they want to learn. They seek it out, and they just try and try and try over and over. So channel those kids. Channel Colonel Chamberlain.
Yeah. Or your inner dog. The dogs are my favorite too, because while we were playing fetch with the dogs in the yard earlier, I watched poor Oakley miss that ball at least 7 times in a row, but it didn't stop him.
He don't care.
He brought it back and he was ready to go again.
Yep. Which is a great segue to our next decision.
Yes.
Yeah, and our next historical figure. So the next figure that we meet is Christopher Columbus, sailing on the Santa Maria. And he teaches David Ponder about I have a decided heart. So this one's really fun. So you said Chamberlain was your favorite to listen to. This one was my favorite to listen to because I just think Columbus was so funny.
He is fun.
It was very funny.
This is the funniest one.
It's the funniest. I got the most chuckles out of this one for sure. But yeah, he says, Go ahead.
That voice that he played. My
Yeah.
friend, my friend.
Yeah. It's a good one. It's a really fun listen. The whole book is a fun listen. But yeah, this chapter has a few
It's a great
chapters.
read, fun listen.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But Christopher Columbus, yeah, he's sailing on the Santa Maria, and whenever David Ponder gets to the Santa Maria and he's talking to Christopher Columbus, they had been at sea for 64 days. Can you imagine? Like over 2 months. 2 months. Can you imagine? And there's like no land in sight. But, oh, and by the way, they only have 10 days worth of food left. So everybody's a little, a little freaked out, a little scared, except for Christopher Columbus. He is positive that there is land right there, right on the other side, of the water. He says, before sunset, we'll see land. And actually his crew approaches Columbus and they say, we need to turn around. Like we've been at this for over 60 days. Um, we have no land in sight. We got to turn around. And they're just freaked out, right? Like understandably so. And Columbus says, look, we're not turning around. We are not. There is land. He says, we gotta keep going. We have already been at sea for 64 days. We only have 10 days left of food. So if we turn around, we're definitely gonna die at sea. So our only option is to keep going. So yeah, I mean, they were scared of dying, but you're committed. Like you're committed. We've been on this boat for over 2 months. We're going to keep going. We're going to, sail forward. And eventually 3 days later, the total trip was 67 days and they did find land. So yeah, that decided heart. I mean, it was pretty crazy of him, of Christopher Columbus, but he was decided, he was sure that he was going to find land, and he did.
Yeah. But how many of us do the same thing? Like when you hear that, how many of us do the same thing? Like, oh, it's too tough right now, I quit. And so that's what I want to know right now is what was your turnaround moment? Like what you as a leader, like go ahead and drop that down there. Like take a second, press pause. Like what was your like, I'm not going any further moment? And then you realize, well, back there, I can go admit that I failed to my friends and family members. I was a coward, or, I'm in debt. Fill in the blank. It's one of those things about being an entrepreneur that I just absolutely love. You gotta be a little bit crazy to be an entrepreneur. You gotta be okay with failure. You've got to be, and whenever you start moving up higher levels of leadership in any organization, you got to be okay with that failure. You got to be okay with that knowing that you don't know all the answers. And that's where a lot of people mess up. They feel like if I don't have it right now, nobody will believe me. But that as my man Chris said, vulnerability is a superpower. It's a superpower.
It is. I think most people are not willing to put in the amount of work that needs to go into it either.
Yeah, it's definitely something that we all get scared of. It's at what point, like, am I ready? Can I do this? And where a lot of people are afraid to go through with all these things is they're worried about what people are going to say.
Yeah. Very much.
One that I talked about that, one that got me, that Levi gives me a hard time, is I participated in the dad race, and I was so worried about falling over. I was so worried about, what happens if I don't clear this jump, that I didn't do any of it. Now, I'm not saying, guys, go get out on a dirt bike and go clear all these jumps and whatnot. Like some of us have to go to work the next day.
Not in a full body cast.
Yeah. I mean, and I loved how Andy Andrews said it. If you're worried about the criticism of other people, you will have more faith in their opinion than you have in your own. Poor is the man whose future depends upon the permission and opinion of others. Remember this: if you are afraid of criticism, you will die doing nothing.
Yeah, that is very true. There's just people out there that they don't like seeing other people succeed. And that has way more to do with them than you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I love this quote. I've heard it and I've said it a million times. Someone's opinion of you does not have to be your reality.
Yep.
Just because they think something of you doesn't mean you got to believe it. Now, you might be the one that sees that further in the future. Be okay with it. Be okay with being different. And take it. I haven't seen an average person do anything that's worth mentioning in history books. Nobody talks about average.
Exactly.
And so if you're trying to do something great, that I love the work-life balance myth. Oh, I want to be great, but I need great work-life balance.
No. That's where the next quote comes in about passion. I love it.
Yeah. Yep. And if you don't have that passion, you'll never overcome it. You've got to be passionate about it, but you got to be disciplined too. Passion, that can come and go, but you need that discipline. Passion gets you growing. Discipline keeps you going. Hold on. Passion gets you going. Discipline keeps you growing.
Got it.
Oh. So, Christopher Columbus.
Yeah.
Why don't we go ahead and before we do point number 5, make sure, guys, I want to give a huge shout out. Vicky with Hubbard Flooring Studio. I could not do this without her. Look, and right now through Christmas, that on her online orders, you mentioned the coach. She's giving up to 20% off of her rugs. And you're going to get a free bottle of cleaner. I literally just spoke to her today, and she said some people are taking advantage of it. So make sure you're in that number. Tell them Coach Clark sent you, and she's going to hook you up. So thanks so much, Hubbard Flooring Studio. Building a strong foundation with your house, much like we're building a strong foundation in your leadership.
Very cool. So going into decision number 5. So the next one is, I will choose to be happy. I will choose to be happy. And you know who is our historical figure for this chapter?
Me.
No.
Coach Clark.
No. Anne Frank. Anne Frank herself in the annex during World War II. The German invasion of Poland and where was she? Holland at the time?
Yeah, she was in Holland.
Yeah. But yeah, she's in the annex, and in fact, she had been there for almost a year and a half, living in that annex. And she meets David Ponder, or David Ponder meets her, and she tells David, she says, you get to choose your attitude. There are 2 things in this life that you can control. One of them is your attitude, and the other is your actions. Those are the only 2 things that you can control. And so you just have to decide to be happy. You have to choose to be happy. She says it's impossible for the seeds of depression to take root in a thankful heart. So I think that happiness, that joy, it just goes hand in hand with gratitude and thankfulness. When you're happy, you're thankful, you're grateful for, the things in your life, and it reframes how you see your world as well, how you see your reality. And Anne actually says complaining doesn't help. Because David's like, do you see what's happening? Like, do you know what's going on? Like, it's not great. And she's like, I could complain, but it doesn't help. It's an activity like anything else, just like jumping rope or listening to the radio. You can just choose not to do it. And why would you? Complaining prevents you from growing and moving up in the world. It doesn't lend to that grateful heart. It doesn't lend to that happiness and that joy. So just don't do it. And yeah, for Anne Frank to be laying down that wisdom, that hits you like a ton of bricks. If she doesn't have anything to complain about, neither do I. Not me.
Well, I mean, I could always find something
You
to
could.
complain about.
You could. You could try.
But I thought that was the important part there, when they put it into perspective and said the whole, I could look at it as we don't have enough food for everybody. Or I could look at it as somebody who's sharing their food with me and 8 other people. They're sharing their rations. It's all dependent on your perspective. And we said it a little bit earlier, but I want to reiterate it again, because that our lives are fashioned by our choices. So first we make our choices, and then our choices make us. And so being grateful, being happy is a choice. If you hadn't tried it, and it's one of those misnomers that, all is great whenever you're doing something like this. People, it's one that I joke about with their other leaders, with days at the top. You can't ever have bad days. But we have bad days too. But go for a gratefulness walk. So while you're having a bad day, just press pause and then go for a quick walk. And then as you're walking, start listening. I'm healthy. I can actually go and walk right now. That I can feel that, because right now it's pretty cool outside. Like I can feel the cool, crisp air. That I've got a beautiful wife. I've got 2 great sons. I've got a house. I've got a roof over my head. I'm able to do all these things. Is life the best that it could ever be? No. But there's so much good going, and especially if you're living here in America, that you've got a lot of really good stuff going for you. A lot of really good stuff going for you. And this is the best country in the world, best nation in the world. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. And so that you get to make that choice. You control your thoughts. You control your actions. And so, you control your attitude. Sometimes thoughts just happen. So that was one of the ones I remember from Winning the War on Your Mind, is sometimes there's just stuff that comes in your head and you're like, how did I get here?
Those intrusive thoughts.
Oh, what's the movie where the emotions are in the girl's head?
Oh, Inside Out.
Inside Out, when they do the gum commercial.
Yeah.
Peppermint gum.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
That's the perfect depiction of that too. It's like, where did that come from?
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Because I was trying to think through it as I started saying. I'm like, well, no, you don't control your thoughts because sometimes it just happens.
Yeah.
But you can choose how you feel about it.
Yeah.
And then you get to choose your actions. So, in how I'm gonna close out this, and then I'm gonna get you to introduce point number 6 or decision number 6. So, that one of I loved how they said this in the book, and that Anne was saying right here. She said, "They say I live in a dream world, and that's not true. I know that the war is horrible. I understand that we are in a terrible danger here. I do not deny the reality of my situation. I deny the finality of it.
Yes.
This too shall pass."
Yes. This too shall pass.
And
Yes, that
so
was a
if
great
that
one.
is you guys,
Mm-hmm.
that and you're in that where I don't know where else to go, that you can get out of this. This is not the final place for you. Go seek that help. Go find that wisdom, and then choose to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Choose to be happy.
Yeah. Which really plays great into the next decision as well. It is, I will greet the day with a forgiving spirit. And our historical figure for this chapter is the one and only President Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, it wasn't the.
No,
Okay.
it was it. Yeah. President Abraham Lincoln, he's at the Gettysburg Address. So it's kind of cool. David Ponder goes back to Gettysburg and he's like, this looks kind of familiar, well, he was just there at Gettysburg with Colonel Chamberlain. And now he's there with Abe Lincoln and they're going to be dedicating the cemetery.
Yeah. And I just kind of thought about it too. I was like, so this is the 4th different stop that he's made that's been in a war. So he did 2 at World War II, that Truman and Frank, then Chamberlain and
Abe Lincoln. Yeah. That's like his journey is like, look, bro, you could be in a wartime.
Your life's fine.
You're fine. And in fact, that's kind of what he and Lincoln talk about here. So, Lincoln tells David, he says, forgiveness is so important. He says, forgiveness frees you to lead and grow. You have to forgive. You have to forgive others. You have to forgive yourself. Leaders can't carry bitterness because it limits your capacity. Bitterness takes so much space in your heart and in your mind, and it limits your capacity for growth. And so, Lincoln's telling him all this, and David's like, this is the worst time in my life. Like, it really sucks right now. I've got it really bad. And Lincoln's over here, like, just finished the Civil War. And he's like,
well, technically he's not even finished at the time they're doing this memorial service.
It's not even over. Gettysburg, he's dedicating the cemetery. But yeah, Lincoln's still going through some rough times. So Lincoln, it says Lincoln congratulated him and he said, better days are most assuredly ahead. Raised a glass and said, to us, 2 men experiencing the worst life has to offer. And David's basically like, are you making fun of me? Yeah.
Do you realize how bad my life is?
I know. David's literally like, are you making fun of me right now? Like, I'm seriously going through it. And Lincoln's like, I'm not kidding. I'm very serious. I'm going through it too. To us.
Right. I mean,
Cheers.
if you just went to the point too, I mean,
Yeah.
Anne Frank was going through worse times than David.
Right. Right.
But I mean, Lincoln, and I thought one of the things that he said, right now you're getting asked the question is how powerful do you want to be?
Right.
Because as you go through those tough times, that in order to get better, you've got to have a struggle, and people often look and say Abraham Lincoln might have been the best president ever, but he had the worst experience the entire time. It wasn't like he was out getting to go and do all this cool stuff. The country was torn apart. People were like, and it wasn't as common to get the bashing that we see today, where, pick whoever's in office. They're just like, oh, one side's like, they're horrible. And the other side's like, no, they're great. But he was getting torn down by everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like there wasn't anybody saying a whole lot of good stuff about him other than like, hey, his whiskers look good. Other than that, like, what are we doing?
He's got a nice top hat. He's like, thanks.
But it makes him look crazy. He was getting it all.
Yeah.
But as you're going to do those great deeds, you need that power, and that comes from growth. It comes from stretching. And so don't run from power. Power in the hands of the right person is like a cool drink of water on a warm summer day. Don't be afraid of it. Because you could be that thing. You could be the person that it helps somebody else. They overcome, that helps impact your family, your friends, your community, And so how are you going to lead people through stuff if you yourself haven't been there?
Yeah. That's so true. And man, like not being afraid of the power, and I think also being around other people who are in power as well. Because if you're determined to win, you have to surround yourself with other winners. So not being afraid to put yourself in that position where you're around other winners, put yourself in the same room with them, learn from them, talk to them. Don't be discouraged by those that are maybe on your team who talk big, but produce very little. There definitely are those people, but just keep putting them in the boat and see who wants to paddle as hard as you do. You'll learn very quickly. Lincoln actually, he talks about Ulysses S. Grant. And before he found Grant, who was instrumental in the war, he went through 10 other generals, just one after the other, 10. And they didn't want it like he did. And he had to find someone who's just as crazy as him. So, just that importance of who wants to paddle as hard as you do, who wants it as bad as you do. And to keep moving forward, just remember you have to forgive not only other people, but also yourself. Making moves, it's hard. A lot of times you can feel a lot of guilt in making moves that will better yourself, better your career, better your life, because it doesn't always line up with the people, that you love maybe. But if they really do love you and support you, they're not going to be mad at you. So you can't be mad at you. Don't be mad at yourself if the people around you aren't mad at you. If they are mad at you, you don't need them anyway.
Yeah, and it's super important, guys. In anything, forgiving yourself, like we say all the time, you are the hardest person you lead every single day, but you're also the toughest person to forgive because they're not mad at you. They're not. They love you. I promise they'll forgive you. You have to forgive you. And so want to go ahead and roll into the next and last decision,
Let's do it.
which is I will persist without exception. And so this is the only one that I don't tell people about. You got to go read the book. If you have not read the book yet, go read the book. This one gets me every single time I read it. And, it's just like, they're talking about the importance of not giving up. And I mean, we talked about it a little bit at the beginning, but we've all been there, that time where we're just, gosh, I'm ready to quit. And I mean, right here is one of the most profound statements that I've heard. It says, all men are driven by faith or fear. One or the other. Both are the same. Faith or fear is the expectation of an event that hasn't come to pass, or the belief in something that cannot be seen or touched. A man of fear lives always on the edge of insanity, and a man of faith lives in perpetual reward. Golly.
Yeah. I mean, that says it all. Yeah, that one really, it definitely hits home. And, talking a lot over, the 7 decisions, we talk a lot about reality and, expectations, emotions, standards. Well, so Andy Andrews says here, great leaders, great achievers are very rarely realistic by other people's standards. And somehow these people are considered strange by other people's standards, pick their way through life, not hearing negative expectations or emotions. However, consequently, they accomplish one great thing after another. So they're doing something right. Never hearing what cannot be done. This is precisely why no one should ever tell a young person something cannot be done. God may have been waiting centuries for someone ignorant enough to the impossible to do that very thing. So you gotta be crazy enough to do it. But believe in your heart and decide in your heart that you can and you will make that decision. Be grateful. That's where the application comes in. You have to keep showing up. All of these decisions play into each other. They work best when used together. Even when you don't see immediate progress, this is not an overnight thing. This is something that is going to take work. It's going to take commitment. And sometimes, that blind, maybe a little bit delusional faith, but you've got to keep applying it and you've got to keep going and you will see that progress.
And so just to kind of quickly sum that up, guys, that 1, the buck stops here. 2, seek wisdom. 3, be a person of action. 4, have a decided heart. 5, be happy. 6, forgive. And then 7, persist without exception. And before we go into that close, I just want to ask you this question and really take a second to think about it. Are you going to be a person of faith or a person of fear? Remember, fear lives on the edge of insanity. Faith lives in perpetual reward. So are you going to be a person of fear or faith? Wow. What a great conversation. I love how the Traveler's Gift takes you on this journey that's not just about one man's struggle, but really about the choices we all face every day.
Exactly. Those 7 decisions aren't just ideas, they're action steps. If you start putting even 1 or 2 of them into practice, you'll see real change in how you lead, how you think, and how you show up.
Yeah, it's all about being intentional. Every day, we're writing the story of our lives, one decision at a time. And this book reminds us we have more control than what we think.
So if you're listening, we would love to know which of the 7 decisions hits home for you. Was it taking responsibility, seeking wisdom, or maybe choosing happiness? Let us know.
Yeah, shoot me a message at coachaclark.com, or you can hit me up on email at coachaclark.com. I'd love to hear your thoughts and how you're applying these principles.
And don't forget, if you found value in this episode, take a second to leave a comment or review wherever you're listening. It helps more people to find the show and join this growing community of leaders and learners. And don't forget to subscribe.
Yes. Big thanks to our sponsor, Hubbard Flooring Studio, for supporting the Clark Connection podcast. And we could not do it without you guys.
All right, so that's it for today. Thanks for hanging out with us and being a part of this conversation.
Yes. Until next time, keep growing, keep leading, and keep making those intentional decisions that move you forward.
And we'll see you on the next episode of the Clark Connection podcast. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Clark Connection podcast, where my goal is to add value to you. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the show. You can also connect with me via my website, coachaclark.com, or on all socials at coach_a_Clark. The links are in the description. Huge thanks to my sponsors, Wayne with 7K Metals, Bobby with the Comfy Quest LLC, Andrew with Automate Integrate Professional Services, Joseph with Landscape King, and Chris and Jess with C&J Embroidery. We look forward to bringing you more great content. See you next week.